Hey guys, welcome back to Flying in Space with Planet Head. This is, it is March 3rd, 2023. Um, Tonight's video, I thought I would break a little bit from my current videos. Recently, I've been doing a bunch of videos on the creation of a corporation for the first time. And while this will affect that, I think it's going to be more so helpful to maybe a lot of people that are out there who are afraid to do a few things and experiment with a few things when they're first starting off playing. I didn't really think of this until the drive home from work today. I was actually planning on doing something a little slightly different on the way in, but as you saw probably in the title of the video, I'm going to be making a tackle ship for the very first. Well, I made one a while back, a long time ago, but I never used it. I'm going to making a tackle frigate fit, going not from outside, getting information from the outside, but as a new player might want to go along with creating their first fit for the first time. And maybe I can show where maybe it's not so scary to do your own fits. There are definitely going to be some mistakes in here. As any fit, you're never going to be able to find that perfect fit that kills everything, because if you did that, then the game wouldn't be fun for anybody, because everybody would be flying that fit. But what I thought I would do is do a tackle frigate. Now, earlier today, if you've watched my previous videos over like the last week and a half, it was creating different parts of the corporation, getting that up and running, and thank you so much for all the guys who've joined so far. I think we're up to, 10 guys, not including myself, from all over the world. And just got a couple more applications whenever I got home today and read the email, so I sent those applications out. But it's not about the corp today, it's about the fit. So my thought this morning was, I'm asking for all alpha characters and new players or people who just want to try something a little different to join. So what kind of ship would be useful for those characters that they can fly right away? And there's two major types of ships in my mind that are very helpful to new players who want to just get involved in the game right away. The first one is the easy one. That's the exploration character. I've done videos on that before. That's what I really love to do. You can literally get out there and explore and do relic and data sites and just explore all of Eve within like a day and a half of doing your skills, even less than that sometimes. The other one, and there you can do a mining character and you do some other things, but the other one to be really involved in the game, but be involved in a social manner, is how do I fleet up and be a useful member of a fleet, especially a PvP fleet, if I'm a brand new character. And the best way to put that is, and this has been the same for the last, I've played the game, well, I played the game 10 years ago for about 2 years, took a long break, came back about 2 years ago. But even before that, 15 years ago, the best way to fleet up when you don't have the skills is to become that tackle character, to become that guy who flies the frigate first and swoops in and tackles that guy and holds him down so the rest of the fleet can join you. You may die, you may not, but you'd be amazed at how many hero points you get for the rest of your team when you're able to do that. Seriously. So what I thought today was I would go and think about, okay, what types of fleets are we going to be flying as PvP fleets? And then secondly, what kind of frigates, and do a very basic fit that almost anybody can fly within the first day or so of flying with Eve and be helpful. Now, the second part of that is, I love to experiment, and that I like to screw around with things and mess things up and make mistakes so I can learn from them. And one of those things is, a lot of times you can just go online and find a good fit. You can just ask around other corp members to see what's a good fit. I like to tinker a little bit and kind of come up with a concept first, try it out, and when it doesn't work, then go ask people, because then I could say, hey, this was the fit that I came up with, and I got blown up 5 times. What do you think? And they will say, that's stupid. You should have used this, this, and this. I'm like, oh, well, that's great. Thank you so much. And I'll go off and I'll screw something else up. So today I'm going to make a very simple tackle ship. And the only goal is for this ship to close range, and survive a little while holding a ship down, so maybe the rest of the fleet can come in. And I was thinking about this morning, and I thought, I think I would want to be. These were my general thoughts. Okay, number one, do I go micro warp drive, or do I go afterburner fit? Because how fast do I want to close that range? Then number two, what kind of armor reps do I want to do, so I might be able to last a little bit longer? And what kind of defense do I want from being killed as quickly as possible? And then number three, do I want to do some damage? Because that's really the least of important things as this type of character. Now, I want to do a little bit of damage so I get on the kill mail, but really the damage doesn't really matter. So that's the third most important part. So what I did this morning is what I'm about to do. I just did a really brief thought pattern, and then I went to work and I thought about it some more, and then I thought about it on my way home. And I'm going to jump into this and do it as I am doing it, kind of think things through. And then if you have any feedback, please feel free to comment in the comment section. There may be definitely bonuses. There's obviously going to be some modules out there that might be easier for me to put onto the ships, that sort of thing. So let's just dive right into it. So the first thing I want to do is find the tackle frigates that you want to use. Now, those are fairly simple to find, but if you've never played the game, you just want to pull up your ship tree. If you don't have that, you can pull up the Neocom, go down here to ships, and hit ship tree here. There we go. Now, each one of the 4 major factions here, and this is what you'll have access to pretty quickly, has a tackle frigate, and all you have to do is scroll along here and look for the frigate for each one that has the bonus. See where this one here, it has an 80%. It's the slasher for the Minmatar, and it has an 80% bonus to propulsion jamming system. So this will allow you to 80% reduction for the activation cost for that. So this ship is made to tackle. Now you can put tackle on any other ships. This is a very simple ship to do. So now there's going to be 4 ships that I'm going to look at, and I'm going to choose one of them. And that's what I thought of this morning, is how do I want to go about that? So I'm going to pull up all 4 frigates here. First one I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Shift. I'm going to tap that. That'll bring up the description of the ship itself. Now I could use a compare tool and stuff like that, but I'm a visual type of guy. Next one I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the Galente. And again, I'm just going to scroll along, or I'm going to hover over these real quick. And it should be the Atron. Is that? So I'm going to hold down the Shift key, hit Tab. It will open up a separate window. It just makes it easy for me to compare them. So I'm going to pull that one over here. I'm going to go into the Caldari. And it should be the Condor here. Yep. Because I looked at these this morning. I'm cheating. And then the Amar should be the... is it the Enforcer? The Executioner. The Executioner. Okay. So we got all those. Let's go ahead and close this on down. Now I got these up here in front of me. Now, my first thought, and I actually learned a few things while I was doing this, is just pulling these up here. All of these are very similar ships, but they do have their positives and negatives, and I'll go through those. And this is where I went to choose a ship that I want to mass produce for my corporation, so that everybody possibly has a very quick ship to get into if they want to do some tackling. First one being, let's look at the Slasher here. Its traits are, it's got, all of these are going to have the 80% reduction in propulsion jamming. The second part of these are going to be what their race or their empire focuses on. If you notice, the Minmatar focus on projectile turrets. The Amar focus on energy turrets. The Caldari focus on missiles. And the Galente focus on your hybrid turrets. And your drones, but they don't have any drones for this guy. So that's all good. Need another drink of the coffee. Okay, so we really don't have to go through the descriptions because it's kind of cool if you want to learn about them. And I've actually enjoyed going into those, but right now that's not what we're worried about. The second thing that I went to, I passed up attributes. I'm going to come back to attributes. The fourth tab is fitting. This is very important to me because it's going to let me cut down to two separate. I'm going to be able to pick two of these out of the four because of the way they fit. Now, a lot of these are very similar. If you notice, there are a few differences in power grids and in your CPU outputs. Notice how the Condor has a very high CPU output, but a smaller power grid, whereas the opposite is for the Amar. So there is a little bit of a difference here. And that is important, but it's not the most important thing for me. If you notice here, each one of them has three slots, high slots for damage. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now this one has missiles because the Caldari focus on missiles. But it's no big deal. They've got 4 high slots. Each one, all 4 have 4 high slots. So no major difference yet. But then it comes to the concept that I was looking for. Okay, how am I going to tank it? Now, obviously, these ships are all 4 of them fast. I'm already going to have the speed tank onto it. I have to decide, do I want to go with the micro warp drive or the afterburner? But that doesn't really matter for this choice. The second part is, if I want to survive that couple more seconds of damage, do I want to go shield tank or armor tank? Now, this is probably where I'll get a lot of the comments out there. You have to choose something to try out. Whether or not it's right or wrong, at least you're trying it out so that you are doing something so you can learn from yourself. Now, the big thing here is if you notice they've got medium slot power slots and low power slots. Your Minmatar, the slasher, has 4 medium, 2 low. Your Amar has 3 and 3. Your Caldari has 4 and 2, and your Galente have 3 and 3. Why is this important? Because if you're going to shield tank, then you need to have medium slots most of the time. If you're going to armor tank, you need to have low power slots. So obviously, if I want to armor tank, I want to have either an Amar ship or a Galente ship. If I want a shield tank, I want to go with the Caldari and the Minmatar. Now, I'm going to try to keep it simple. I am originally going to go with armor tank. Why am I going to do that? Because it's a fairly simple thing to skill up in, and I can do a bunch of different little things to try to affect that. Plus, I've always got that little bit of passive shield regeneration from the shields. So that probably won't affect much, but it's just choosing that first thing. So now I can instantaneously remove out both the slasher and the Condor, which leaves me 2. So now I'm down to 2 ships. Now, which one of these do I want to build from? Now, everything else here is across the line. The reason why you've got a higher power grid here is, if I'm not mistaken, you need a larger power grid in CPU for the guns for the execution, because it uses the lasers versus using projectile weapons or hybrid weapons. We're not worried about that so much. So this doesn't affect us right now so much. Second, now that I've figured out that I want to go with 3 and 3 in my medium and low slots, I'm going to go back over to attributes. And this is where I got interested this morning, where I'm not 100% sure on a bunch of different things, but I'm going to focus on it. Couple of different things. I want to go armor tank. So what's the first thing you want to look at? Which ship has the most armor? Well, the Amar ship actually has the most armor. It's got 450 hit points versus 350. Why is this important? If there's anything out there that might increase my armor defense by a percentage point, it would directly affect my armor hit points. Now, I don't know if there are not any equipment out there that does that, but I could definitely use that. And it's 100 more hit points in my armor, so that's a big difference. The other really big thing that I noticed here, and I might be missing a few things, so I'm not going to worry about it too much, is the signature radius, if I'm not mistaken. Just scroll down here. There we go. So your signature radius right here. So the signature radius for the Executioner is 31 meters, and the signature radius for your Atron is 35 meters. Why is this important? Well, you can see the little thing here. Smaller values increase the time to lock onto this target and assist it in evading enemy firepower or detection by probes. Aha! So not only am I getting more armor with the Executioner, but I'm also getting, it takes longer for somebody to try to target me. Now, whether or not that's a half a second or 3 seconds, that's another half a second to 3 seconds that somebody can't hit me. That is huge. And so that is, I don't want to spend 1,000 hours going over this or trying to choose from these things. I'm going to choose the Executioner at this point because I feel comfortable that I've looked at a few things. It's kind of like when you go to maybe rent an apartment or buy a house for the first time. You walk in and you're like, you walk through 5 of them and you're like, I like this one. Let me go home and think about it for a little while, but I think I'm going to move into this house. So the house of the Executioner, I'm going to go ahead and pull. Simply said, we are looking at an armor-tanked, quick ship that can tackle. So if I'm not mistaken, I think I can pull this up in the fitting window. Oh, it just has a pretty picture there. Never mind. So we're going to go with the Execution. I'll go ahead and pull up the fitting window here. This is a catalyst that I've got right now that I'm junking around with. And we'll go into holes and fits. And then we're going to go into frigate. And remember, it was the Amar. And it was the Executioner. So I don't have any fits for this that they've given us. They gave us some Punisher fits. That's kind of interesting. And obviously that could be used as a tactical frigate too. Community fittings. I don't need any fittings there. There we go. Let's clear those out. Now let's try this again. Frigates, Amar, and then we're going to go Executioner. There we go. And then we're going to simulate that ship. So again, we've got 4 high slots, 3 medium slots, 3 low slots. Things that you want to look for are your warp scrambler and also a webifier, because you want to slow that other ship down so your buddies can get more damage onto you. So basically all 3 of these mid slots are going to be taken up. You're going to have your afterburner, your micro warp drive. Then here you're going to have your webifier or your disruptor, and then here you're going to have your webifier or your disruptor. Down here you're going to have your armor tank. That's important. Now whether or not you go with more armor onto the ship, or whether you go with more armor defense, like being able to putting more resistances on here, is very important. I'm not going to go fully into here because there's so many different things you can do here. Notice I have not talked at all about these high slots. These, as far as a tackle frigate, are the three things that you want to focus on. Then you can start worrying about these. Heck, you could throw in a target painter in there and make it even easier for other people to hit them. But you want to keep your cap stable, or at least keep it going. You want to be able to get in and out quickly. I am a big proponent of afterburners. Now, micro warp drives definitely have their space, but an afterburner does not increase your signature radius. A micro warp drive does, and it lowers your cap space. So more I can get into on that one, but let's just say literally hardware, we're going to go, why has this got all this stuff clicked? And we're going to go afterburner, so I'm going to go 1mn. Oops, because I know that I need a 1mn afterburner. I'm going to go with a basic afterburner. Boop. Now you can definitely upgrade these, but this is stuff that I can build. And then I'm going to go a basic webifier. Ship equipment. And we're going to go stasis webifier. This is something that I can build. I'm looking for things that a starting character can use right away, also things that I can mass produce. Not things that I'm going to go out and buy. I want to be able to mass produce these things as on a cheap way so that down the road we can use really cool ships if we want to. Spend our money on stuff that's cool versus if we just want to go out there and get blown up, use a junk ship. And then the last one here is either a disruptor or a scrambler. Now, Tor. There we go. We're just looking for a warp disruptor. Is that all the way down here? There it is. A single warp disruptor. Now, what's the difference between a warp disruptor and a warp scrambler? So our warp disruptor disrupts the navigation computer, which prevents the ship from warping. So there's two major differences here. The warp disruptor will only stop the ship that you're going after from warping away. The warp scrambler will stop the other ship from micro warp jumping, will stop it from using this micro warp drive. But there's a major difference. The range of your micro warp disruptor is 20 kilometers, whereas the range of the warp scrambler is either, I think, 7.5 kilometers or maybe 10 kilometers. Now, here's the trick, and I might be 100% wrong with this. I am by no means anything special, but you want to go in with a plan. If I'm using an afterburner, that means I'm not able to close the range as quickly as I would be with a micro warp drive, because the micro warp drive goes as fast. So afterburner is a little bit slower. So I want to be able to tackle somebody from a farther distance away, i.e. the warp disruptor. If I had a micro warp drive, I might want to go with a warp scrambler, because that's only 7.5, but I'm going to be able to close that distance faster. But again, I'm trying to keep this simple and give people the best chance possible of holding somebody down. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this warp disruptor onto the ship. There we go. Now I still have a ton of room here. And that's where this comes in. And this is where you can really mess around. You can go armor tank. You might even be able to go speed tank, so that it's harder for somebody to hit you. Do you buff yourself out, or do you make yourself hard to hit? I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to be honest with you there. And I'm 25 minutes into the video. I'm going to throw this out there. I'm a big proponent of speed tanking at small ships, because if somebody can't hit you, it can't kill you. That said, being armor tanked, you may be, if you're speed tanked and they do hit you once, you might be insta killed. Whereas armor tanked, you might be able to hold off for a little while and be frustrating. You know, you might be able to take out a couple of their drones or something like that with the guns that you have. So if you guys have any ideas or any thoughts here, I definitely can look up some fits and stuff like that. Personally, whenever I came into this, I was thinking armor tank. So now I've got to decide, do I throw like armor plating on here, which would slow my ship down, but give me more armor, or do I go with the armor resistances and increase what I have here? And then once I do that, what skills do I focus to accentuate those bonuses? So maybe I'll do a episode 2 of this later on this weekend, if I get any good input from you guys or if I read on something. But this is a great start. And just to show you, this really wasn't about making a tackle frigate. It's showing you maybe a process of how going about real world or real thoughts rather than just looking up something and throwing it on the ship, but understanding what different things do and kind of using those things to kind of come up with a concept that you can try out. And that's where I think the game can be really, really fun versus just reading a page that says, this is how you build your Loki. You know, when I build my Loki, I want to know how I built it and why I did it that way. So, I hope this has been helpful. I had a lot of fun doing it and thinking about it. I'm going to think a lot more about it, and this fit will probably change a lot. But the one thing I want to focus on is anything that I put in these lower slots has to be something that a brand new character can fly with. Because if it isn't that, then this fit is not worthwhile, because that's what this fit is made for. Mass production, able to be flown quickly, so a new corp member can join in the fight as quickly as possible. Alrighty, that's all I got for today. You guys fly safe, fly dangerously, fly like you want, and I will talk to you soon. Have a good day. Bye-bye.